Have you ever looked at your numbers and just kind of felt a little inadequate? Anyway, hi everybody. What's up? Welcome to Honesty Hour. This is my
Hello.
first episode of my talk show. This is a show about talking to small creators about all the hardships that we might endure throughout our time on the internet. And today we're going to be talking about viewership and social media numbers, hiatuses and their impact, and also trying to stay original and relevant in our creative sphere. Since this is my first episode, I just brought on one of my friends.
I see. That's all I am. I'm not.
So my first guest is my friend and fellow VTuber, Lampert. So Lampert, you want to talk about yourself a little bit?
Hello, everybody. I'm sure some of you may know me as just a simple mod from Millie, but I am also on the side of VTuber. Who would have guessed? I usually stream on Twitch.tv, LampertVT. I usually do mostly gaming content, but I've started slowly moving into other forms of content.
So that is Lampert. And hey, Lampert, you've actually been working with content creation for like a long time, right? So,
yes, that is true.
Why did you start?
Why I started is mostly because I grew up around the Let's Playing phase for very early YouTube in the gaming community.
Oh, same.
And over the course, over the course of just watching people like Chugga Conroy, Proton John, Lucagen, quite a few other people, I over time just really wanted to do those kind of things myself. And that's why originally I started with doing Let's Plays on my YouTube channel, in fact.
Yeah, same. I had a YouTube channel. Well, I had 2 YouTube channels actually. I had one with my friend at one point. But why'd you swap into VTubing instead?
So I had a few friends who were getting into VTubing themselves. One of which some people may know as PP, Penelope Penaway, and she and 2 others, alongside Jake of Storms, who've gotten to VTubing and told me about it as a whole. Mostly started as a joke because I had a lamp persona kind of going with my channel as a whole, and alongside the fact that my username online in most servers was a lamp. So people eventually decide, hey, you want to make something unique? Be a lamp.
That's such a weird username. How did you end up as a lamp? What the heck?
It's better than what my older username was. Which,
wait, what was the old one?
Little Hot 6.
What the fuck?
I can type in the chat what it was. You can imagine what kind of people contacted me growing up.
Little Hot 6. Oh my god. All right, well, at least you're a lamp now instead.
Yeah.
Thank God, frankly. What's your main goal as a VTuber then, now that you're a lamp boy?
Mostly just to get bigger, I suppose. Because like I said earlier, with why I started doing content was mainly to look up, because I looked up to a lot of Let's Players. While gaming is not going to be the content I want to go into moving forward, I do definitely want to make content that people will enjoy and that they will look fondly on in the past or in the present or in the future, for instance. So I want to have those kind of content, those kind of clips that people will go back on and be like, I remember this years ago. This was a funny moment, kind of thing.
It's true. There are a couple of YouTubers that don't even make content anymore that I always remember really fondly. They always like sit in the back of my mind like, aw, I miss them. Yeah, so today we wanted to talk a little bit about stuff like numbers and social media stuff and how hiatuses can have an impact on that, stuff like that. I know Lamp had a hiatus recently.
Yeah.
Not because he wanted to, just because it happened. But let's start talking a little bit about numbers, first of all. Let me just say,
numbers.
It's a hard topic.
It's a hard knock life.
It's a hard knock life for us. Number go burr. Yeah, freaking numbers are like the most anxiety-inducing freaking thing. Just looking at, my god, my Twitter number went down! Smaller number means bad person, no!
Oh, I'm terrible. Oh, this number went down by a single digit. I am terrible. I'm an awful content creator.
Everyone hated the post that I just put out, but it was one person that unfollowed me. Have you ever looked at your numbers and just kind of felt a little inadequate?
I think you'd be hard pressed to find someone who doesn't do that. I want to
Mm,
believe at least all of us do it at least once. There's
yeah.
unfortunately for a lot of us, numbers, especially when you first see your big growth spurt, because I feel like starting out for a lot of us, maybe we don't look at the numbers because we're mostly doing this kind of for fun in a way. Like, yeah, we have large goals in mind in the future, but starting out, I feel like until we hit our first big boost, we don't really look at numbers. And then once that boost happens, if any amount of negativity hits our numbers after it, we start hard focusing on that.
Yeah.
And that's such a big problem for a lot of us in the
Yeah.
community.
Because you start out and it's like, wow, everything's happening so fast. Wow, there's so many numbers suddenly, and then like it falls off really hard.
Yeah.
And there's not even anything
Because-
you can do about it. It's not even because people dislike your content or anything. Maybe sometimes they just their tastes change, so they're moving on to new things, or whatever. There's a million different reasons that
There's
people can walk
so many
away.
things you can't properly calculate or prepare for everything.
Yeah.
It's literally impossible.
Right.
There's only so much you can do. It's come to a point where I see literally a 0.01% change, and I'm like, hey, that's good. That's good, right? Hey.
Hey, one follower, poggers.
One follower. I did good this stream. This was a success.
Have you ever felt like you're growing too quickly or too slowly at any point, though?
Depends on the context, I would feel like. For bigger growth spurts, like a certain one that still hangs in the minds of many people, in terms of a
I
certain
know.
raid that happened months ago. I definitely felt like that growth could be seen as a little too fast for me, because it also depends on the type of growth. I've said it a lot in the past, and I still stand by it, that a lot of VTubing and just content creation as a whole is definitely luck based, because sometimes you just might be online at the right moment, and it could change so much in your content, and it can make your growth go skyrocketing, or it could plummet just because of some factor you don't know about. In terms of myself, I want to be a little bit better. I'd say I'm about 55% of where I want to be, 55% okay with where I want to be. Like, not really liking where I'm at, but at the same time, I would say I'm more positive leaning towards
Yeah,
where
that's
I
pretty
wanna be.
positive. I know that a lot of people will sit there and be like, oh, no, this is the worst thing ever. I'm not at 10K followers yet. They have like 100 followers.
Yeah, or people who consistently comment on their growth being terrible. Meanwhile, they have like 10K on like social media sites and like 5K on Twitch. I've seen those, and I'm like, you're hurting yourself a little bit there. Like,
Yeah.
you're doing pretty good.
For anybody
like-
who didn't know, by the way, the person that Lampert got raided by that raised his numbers quite a bit was Iron Mouse. And I know he's gonna be upset about me mentioning it, but look, Lamp got raided by Iron Mouse and brought up by her twice in her deep dive streams, and also was mentioned by her in an interview. So it was like a really significant boost.
It was like, I think 300, 400.
Yeah, so he got brought up by Iron Mouse, and that was his big boost. And I know I've seen a few other people that just they didn't even know what was happening when they got boosted before. I saw Icebell recently. She's an ice cream VTuber. Isa, I think, on Twitch, ISAH. She recently got mentioned by a larger content creator, and she just suddenly got this huge boost on Twitter, and she was like, what happened? So those bigger content creators can really help. Well, I mean, you've had those boosts, right? After those boosts happened, did you feel like discouraged because people maybe weren't coming to your streams after that as much? Because I know that you had a couple of good, really big days after that happened, but then it petered off a little bit.
Yeah, because like I said before, since a lot of it is luck based, I got lucky with her wanting to raid me and getting interested in me as a whole, since a lot of her interest started with her finding me from another person's channel, and then eventually I happened to be live when she was live. About 90%, maybe a little lower than that, are gonna follow you just because that bigger content creator follows and rated you. And then probably about 10 to 20% are probably gonna follow you just because of maybe how your stream looks. And then even maybe going into that, of those 20% who liked how your stream looks, even a less percent of maybe 5% of that group of 20% are maybe going to follow you for your content and continue watching you. In terms of feeling discouraged, I would say yes, a little bit, just because of the fact that I know that a lot of people didn't follow me specifically for my content, but because of some other factor, which can be something that can be very discouraging in the future. Because you never, like we said earlier, you can never know why someone followed you. It could be a whole host of things. And it's why I'm really hoping that one day I can look at my content, see a host of followings come through, and be like, "Yup, that's it. These people are following me for X content."
Yeah, because I know sometimes people can also have big boosts just because, like, oh, well, they're playing Minecraft one stream, and then, like, the next stream they're not playing Minecraft, so they see a big dip in people, because that's all they wanted.
A lot of it's consistency in that regard. Someone may follow you for, like you said, Minecraft, and maybe some people will follow you for if you stream Pokemon Unite or something like that. You never know, and some people aren't very vocal about it. I know in the past I've had some people who get vocal about it. I recently streamed, before my hiatus, which we'll get to. I streamed a game called Library of Runa, and I started having like a small influx of people who actually came in specifically said, "Hey, welcome to Library of Runa's community. Hey, what do you like about the game? Hey, why do you do it?" And I knew that those people who did follow me did like the content. So maybe in that instance, yeah, I should start streaming that again, because there were people who from that community who were very much interested in it. And I know, for instance, you and I have discussed off podcast about how Genshin as a whole seems to be a pretty good one.
Yup.
Because Genshin does really well, and the community seems to really. We have mixed opinions on the community, but it seems that people do come to those kind of streams fairly often. Those streams do pretty well.
Genshin, because it's so easy with Genshin, right? Because you would usually be sitting there grinding in Genshin anyways, so people just come in and want something to listen to in the background. But yeah, I had a similar experience actually. On YouTube, of all places. I was streaming Animal Crossing a few times a week for a while, and I had some of the Animal Crossing community on YouTube actually rating me on YouTube. Like, people I had never met or seen before, just small Animal Crossing streamers that were on YouTube were rating me, and I was like, oh, I should keep doing Animal Crossing content because these people are here now and they want to see that sort of thing. But in the end, I didn't really have as much to do with Animal Crossing as I did with other games. I wanted to do other stuff, so it was a little bit hard. Have you ever felt pressured like that to just do something because either it's popular or because you think your viewers want that sort of thing?
I want to say no for bigger content. I feel like for streams, like, oh, X people are streaming this game, so you got to stream it too. I want to say, generally speaking, I can proudly say no for that, just because I understand that bandwagoning and jumping on trends are definitely a big thing for content, so that way you can get along that hype train that people do. But for smaller stuff, like small posts on like Twitter or maybe certain videos, I definitely would say I jump on trend just for like smaller stuff I can do in like 10-15 minutes that don't take that long to do. I'm usually hopping on those all the time just because it takes me like 5 seconds.
When are we gonna get a Lamp Jacko challenge though?
Oh my god.
When are we getting a Lamp Jacko challenge?
I don't want to imagine that. Oh my god.
Lamp booty up in the air, let's go.
Oh no. Don't
Wouldn't even be that hard to draw that one.
Like, don't get any ideas yet.
I mean, you know. So like, yeah, when you are picking what you want to stream, you're picking based on more like stuff that you want to stream more than the popular trends. So
I can say this: when I first started content creation before VTubing, I wanted to focus more on puzzle games and mystery games, especially murder mystery. If anyone went to my older YouTube, you would see the majority of the games I played were either older RPG games or murder mystery, just because I always like those kind of games. I like solving mysteries, and in the case of maybe with a community, solving those mysteries with that community. That's why, like, when I first started doing more streaming stuff, I actually started doing Danganronpa, for instance, and most recently I've been doing Ace Attorney investigations, the Great Ace Attorney with good old Jacob.
Yeah, I know. I try not to do things based on the popular trends, but it's hard because, I mean, I'll sit there and I'll look at my Genshin numbers and I'll be like, wow, I usually get like 30, 40 people watching me play Genshin a night. I'll get like 100 people's raids. And it's like, man, I should play Genshin.
And I've started noticing it too for communities, especially Genshin communities like Genshin. It's really easy for people to, and I've done it. I've started doing it myself a little bit too with raids. Is just clicking on the category for that game, and then just finding other content creators that
Yeah.
way. I've noticed that I've had very much better success rating people that I personally follow, and instead following new people by going through, say, the VTuber tag or the game tag. I've actually had some really good success finding new VTubers that I've started getting along with a lot better, doing those kind of things, or other content creators doing it that way. It's actually surprisingly effective,
Yeah.
expanding into different communities.
Yeah. Well, when I first started out with VTubing stuff, I had like a list of these tips that I had collected from the internet, right? I mean, everybody kind of goes around and figures out, ooh, how do I grow? How do I become the big VTuber like the bows and stuff? And I had like this list of tips that people had like put out there, like, hey, do this, do that, the other. One of the main things was actually to pick a community first and try to grow in that instead of trying to just be a variety streamer, because being a variety streamer means that nobody knows what you're doing. I mean, like, I play games most of the time. Now I'm doing a talk show. Nobody knows that I'm like, how am I supposed to get into the talk show community if I'm playing Genshin
Yeah,
every day, you know? It's weird. If you're
and
a
that's why.
multi-dimensional content creator like that.
Yeah, and I definitely agree with that. Usually, I think it's good to try and focus on at least like maybe if you primarily do gaming, like maybe focus on like one specific game a week.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's become a running joke for me as I play Toontown once a week. But I've actually had quite a few people in the past do come to my stream specifically for Toontown, asking when I'm doing Toontown next, and it's pretty nice to join a community in some regard and make it a habit to do that kind of content,
Yeah.
because then you become known for it. People come to those streams a little more often. You hit a community that people enjoy your content specifically for that, and it can be nice. I would say it can be a double-edged sword at the same time, because then you kind of get stuck with that kind of content, and especially
Yeah.
so depending on the game, especially so, you might run out of things to do in that, or you might hit a roadblock that might make those streams a little more difficult, which is definitely a big worry someone picking those kind of
Are
communities.
you worried about that with like Genshin or Toontown?
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely, because Toontown requires a lot more group stuff, and with Genshin, if I start just doing grinding fests, that could be a little boring over time, or I could run out of content until a new update comes out, and that could be problematic.
Yeah, and you want to keep it entertaining for people. I know I saw
Yeah.
Cicella playing Toontown maybe a couple weeks ago, something like that, where she was trying to get a group to do stuff with her, some of the, not the mints, I don't think, but it was another one of the boss things, and nobody was online. Nobody was there. It took like 20 minutes to get one person to show up. She was like, do I do something else? I don't want people to get bored. I don't just want to sit here.
Yeah,
Eh.
I understand that, especially because I'm starting to hit that myself a little bit, where it's getting a little more difficult to find people who want to do stuff. You need to either prepare a couple days ahead, or maybe even a week ahead, to see if anybody's going to be available. Kind of plan it out like a full-on collab, or
Yeah.
even trying to build up a community to actually stream with you, and that's a gamble, because if, like you said earlier, life's a big thing, and we don't know when the heck it's going to be available to you when you stream on that day.
Really depends on the time of day. Yeah, it does. Oh,
Yes.
that's another thing. Depending on time of day, depending on day of week, stuff like that, your numbers will go up and down. And it's hard to figure out which days to stream, what times to stream. I've actually been having a lot of trouble with that recently, because when I started out, I had like this tip thing, right? One of my tips was like, oh, you should stream in the mornings, because there's not a lot of streamers on at that time, and you're going to hit a larger viewer audience that are like getting ready for work or having their lunch breaks or stuff like that. So I started in the mornings, and now I've been doing like these late night Genshin streams, and I get so many more viewers that time. And I'm like, but what about all of the people who've come to me for the morning streams? I would feel bad if I just swapped time zones suddenly.
And
That's
that
rough.
yeah, and that ends up being the problem because you wanna try to like maybe diverse yourself in certain hours to test the water, see what's doing
Mhm.
well, and then if you're more known for streaming during a certain time and you suddenly change to another time, a lot of those viewers who watched you at that time are gonna be like, "Where is she? Why is she not here? Oh,
Yeah.
well, I guess they're and maybe they're not streaming anymore. Oh, they don't stream in my time zone. I can't watch them anymore." And then there's a
Yeah.
follower gone. It's that simple. It's something as small as that can really mess up your whole entire system.
And I do try to I try to cater to that a bit because it's like I know that I'm sometimes one of those people who's like, wow, I really wish I could watch this person, but they stream at 4 a.m. my time and I don't think I can make that. Like, there's a lot of Australian VTubers that I love so much, but man, they stream at weird times for me.
Oh, I can agree with that. I can think of two Australian VTubers I know that I'd love to go to their streams more, but God, they stream like when I'm literally trying to sleep. I
Yeah,
say trying. It's
yeah.
you could definitely hit certain audiences that you might not expect. Like you hit a lot of Europeans, like really early on. You hit a lot of
Instantly,
people in the
yeah.
European community. So you had to start catering to those, and now with
Mm.
certain schedules, that might not work out for them, and you might end up losing them, which is what can be problematic.
Yeah, it's a bit rough. Yeah, that's another thing. You have to consider that stuff too. Which platform do you want to go on? Why do you want to go on that platform? Have you ever felt like people push the other like TikTok, Reddit, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, all that stuff like a lot? Do you want to go on those platforms?
Oh, 100% people definitely push it. I feel like not I haven't seen it as much now, but I would definitely say in the last few months, TikTok. I don't
Yeah.
want to say TikTok and Instagram. I definitely say more TikTok, but I have seen quite a few people who do push Instagram as well as good places to advertise yourself at. And I actually
Mm.
no, I actually kind of agree with the push because I have friends who I've seen who make accounts on those, advertise on those, and then put their streams in links or just some form of advertisements, either it's clips or simple content, just like maybe like do a video on Instagram for like model design or something like that, and then on YouTube put clips from the vods and so on and so forth, and they do really well. I've seen people even put stuff on like artwork they post on Twitter. They
Oh
also post it
yeah.
on like Reddit. They posted on Reddit, and I've been surprised because I've seen they've done really well posting on Reddit of all places
I've seen like
to
Mothy
advertise
post on
themselves.
there.
Yep, Mothy's the one person I'm thinking of because she's
Yeah.
doing really well and she posts a lot to Reddit and Instagram and other sites.
Yeah.
I feel like she's probably the best example of someone I know that that continuously advertises themselves on other sites and people come. I even you, for instance, you've had people in the past who straight up tell them that they're from TikTok
Yeah, I
from TikTok
have
videos.
actually my largest following currently is on TikTok. I have over 4K on TikTok currently, whereas I have my Twitter at 16 or 1600, my YouTube at 1200, and my Twitch is almost 700. It's about like 660 something. But
Yeah,
yeah, my
TikTok.
TikTok's my biggest, weirdly.
Yeah, TikTok's weird. I want to get into TikTok just because it seems to be very beneficial for a lot of people. It seems like the TikTok community really likes VTubers.
It
It's something I wasn't expecting.
It can and can't be because man, TikTok is brutal in terms of shit they say. They are really rude.
I
And also it really depends on the type of content that you're putting on there. I feel like if you fit in more with the TikTok content, if you watch some TikTok content first and then you start posting similar things that you've seen on there, you'll grow a lot better than if you're just like posting random clips from your streams or stuff like that.
I believe that. I can make sense with that. I usually try to stick with what the niche for the community is and try not to stand out too much as something different from what they're used to. It's one of those instances where being unique could potentially be a downfall for your content on that platform.
Yeah, no, TikTok's algorithm is actually one of the most interesting in terms of pushing content out to people. And I feel like it's one of the most accurate too, because like when you're looking through your For You page, most of it actually is stuff that you want to watch, which is why it's so easy to just scroll through TikTok endlessly. But yeah, I feel like in a lot of cases, going on other platforms is kind of a requirement when you're trying to be a larger streamer because it's really hard, especially on something like Twitch, to really get your content put out to different people. But it also means that you have to make different content for pretty much every one of those platforms. Like you have to do, if you're doing Twitter, Twitter wants different things than Twitch does. TikTok wants different things than YouTube does, etc., etc. So you have to kind of like pay attention to what each one of the sites that you're going on really wants from you.
Oh yeah, because it's definitely like that. I feel like I've seen. I think I remember a post talking about how like I think Instagram likes specific types of images over
Yeah.
other types. I feel like
Mhm.
TikTok obviously likes more meme videos and like you said covers and all the angles. YouTube is kind of its own hash. Depends on what you're going for. I feel like I would almost argue YouTube's probably the most confusing one.
YouTube likes tips. YouTube's really big on tips and guides and stuff like that, how-to videos, all that sort of stuff. Those get picked up really quick.
Or documentaries, I've noticed.
Oh,
I've noticed in the
yeah.
recent months, I've gotten a lot of documentaries or just
Yeah,
like
yeah.
long-winded discussions about like for instance, I've been getting a lot of like content that talks about the history of blank kind of thing, like a timeline.
So have I recently. Well, they're one of the biggest things. I mean, it's not even just like even if it's just a guideline for like, oh, where do I find all of the puzzle pieces for this Genshin thing? Like people put a YouTube video out on that, and it's gonna get hella views.
Oh yeah, and especially with the how-tos thing. I mean, I've even had older folk like my family even talk about how like they don't even look up, they don't go through a manual or anything when they're like building
I go to
like a
YouTube.
desk or if they're building or if they're messing with their car, they're like, oh well, why don't I just go on YouTube because I can just look up how to fix a car on there, and it's like, I mean, fair enough, but it's like it's easy. You have an entire glossary at your fingertips with both the internet and YouTube.
You had a YouTube. Have you decided to, if you're gonna go back to it, to
Oh,
help?
definitely. It's been a long time, and I've definitely been putting it off a lot just because editing videos can be very time consuming for a lot of us. It's been something I'm pushing off, but I'm hoping I can get back into it because I know having staple content that people can watch at any point in time can oftentimes be a lot better than streaming, where
It can be
streams
incredibly
are
good.
where streaming is specifically at that time, at that place, only then. Yeah, having some kind of content you can fall back on while not streaming is definitely very good in content creation as a whole, and it's needed. You have to have it, which is why we were saying with the different forms of content on other sites, you need to have something on those other sites people can watch. Even if it's literally just a simple post on Twitter or Instagram, it's still content that people want to see, and people can be like, oh hey, they're doing this when they're not streaming or something like that.
Yeah, a good example of that actually is I don't want to. Okay, actually, before we talk about that, can we talk about comparing numbers? Do you ever compare your numbers to other people's, like that started at the same time as you?
Yes, definitely. I have a lot of people that I talked to when I first started, and people I've talked to over the course of after they've like debuted or started making content. Because I don't just know obviously VTubers, and either they have plummeted and have either quit, or I have people who are doing about the same, or people who are actually doing better than me if they started late or the same time as me. And it's hard not to compare numbers, especially to people who started around the same time as you, because usually you think of them as
your peers.
Both as a peers and maybe a little bit of healthy competition, as long as it stays healthy, because obviously, unfortunately, it can be very unhealthy, as is comparing your numbers consistently, which isn't always a bad thing. I want to make that clear. Comparing numbers is not always a bad thing, because you can use that to maybe find out what someone else does better and maybe use that to improve yourself and the content you do. Because I feel like there's a bit of a stigma where comparing numbers is considered always bad. Like comparing yourself can always be bad, which I don't think that's true. It very much can be bad. It really can, because then you'll obsess, you'll focus too hard on how you're doing and think, oh, this person's doing better than me, therefore I am bad at everything, and they're doing everything right because of some minute reason. When in fact, that if you look at that minute reason, you can think of to yourself, oh, that minute reason is actually something I myself can either twist it around and make it better for myself, or I can do that too and see how it works for me, and boom, I could be doing better myself. It's one of those things where it's again a double-edged sword in content creation, where you can accidentally obsess over it and fixate on it. But if you take it with a healthy mindset and actively put it into your content, I think you can do much better with it. I have compared myself to other viewers in terms of their content and their numbers, and I've also focused a little too hard on that stuff, but I've also tried to focus on taking what they've done and do better for myself. It's entirely depending upon what you do with those comparisons and if whether or not you make it a healthy habit or an unhealthy habit.
Yeah, for sure. No, I was leading into that because there is one person who has been my peer basically since I started back in February. Randon. He's an orc VTuber. He was in the chat a little bit ago. I don't know if he's still in here, but I should give him a shout out maybe. Wait, no, his Twitch thing is over. You're still here lurking. Yeah, his Twitter, there we go. That works. He had a Twitch test recently, but I think he's going back to YouTube now. But yeah, Randon started around the same time as I did, and his numbers have been way higher than mine have been. And I try not to look at that as like a bad thing, but I try to look at the stuff that he does differently from me, and I try to use it as like a tool to figure out what I should be doing next or how I should be working. Sometimes I can't always live up to the same standards. I mean, like, Randon, you show yourself aggressively. Randon has an editor on his side, and I unfortunately have to do all of my editing work myself. But one of the main things that he does all the time is he puts out these clips of his streams, which are just the really interesting parts, like him telling a little story or stuff like that. And he shoves them on Reddit, and he puts them on YouTube Shorts and all that stuff on Twitter, and it does really well. But unfortunately, sometimes you can't have the same level of content push as some other people because they have, like, you know, things like editors on their side, or they just have a little bit of extra time than you do. I know, like, you've had a job this whole time.
Yeah, and it's entirely also based on one's just life situation. Like you said, Randon having an editor is a humongous boon, while other people are maybe entirely relying on themselves. Even something as simple as just a friend to like look at your content and just give their own opinion could be a major boon compared to just not having that, or having someone who can manage a Twitter. Even having like a manager, like that's fantastic too.
Yeah.
It's really the small things that can do a lot more than what you think they can do.
Yeah, when you're a small creator just starting out, you don't really have like a built up batch of different people to go to, or even assets already preset or anything like that. So you have to go figure out where to find stuff, or you have to buy stuff and stuff like that. So it can be really tough when you're first starting to get to the same level of quality as some people can. We are getting a little bit off topic from the numbers stuff. How about we talk about your hiatus a little bit?
Do you want to go? Do I go into the whole why I started on hiatus? Because that's its own long story.
Yeah, you might as well give everybody an idea of why you had a hiatus in the first place too. Which, I mean, that also kind of is life circumstances.
Yeah, it's mostly life circumstances. Hiatuses can come out of nowhere, and in my instance, I lost my computer due to I don't want to say unforeseen because I kind of saw it coming, but circumstances a little bit beyond my control, where a company takes my computer for so long, it ends up breaking, and I'm out of commission for a whole month trying to figure out what's going on with that. And despite whatever the circumstances may be for that hiatus, a hiatus as long as in this instance it was a whole month, that killed
it was
me.
more than
That
a month,
killed me
wasn't
really
it?
bad.
Wasn't it like a month and a half?
Month and a half. June, I think it was June 12th. It started all the way up to August 13th, maybe August 15th. I think I got back.
Yeah,
I'd have to check.
It doesn't even feel like it's been that long since you've been back either.
Yeah, it was bad. I mean, it's something as simple as PC being gone, or even let's talk about like length, for instance, for a hiatus. Even as something as simple as a few days of just not making content, having to go on hiatus, could be as detrimental to your career as a content creator. So when you go from a few days of content creation to then a month and a half to potentially 2 months of no content being done, that shuts you down. And it feels almost like you're starting from the very beginning, and that can kill a lot of people's
motivation
and growth. I definitely can say that there are probably a lot of people in this community who probably have had to do a hiatus or two from stuff that they can't control, like a move. Like I've seen, for instance, I can think of 3 people off the top of my head in VTubing who had a move and they quit content creation just because the move took like a week or 2 and they were like, nobody's gonna remember me. I'm done. I quit.
Yeah, Randon says that's where having a library of edited video content shines. I agree. That's where edited video content it really helps. And it also helps that you can just you can grab a couple of your vods or your clips or stuff like that. You could shove them on Twitter and try and get a little bit of extra hype generated while you're gone.
I can definitely agree with that, because that's where we talked about earlier, where just content that people can watch while you're not streaming is incredibly helpful.
Yeah.
Just having either VODs or clips, like we were talking about TikTok, you can maybe do some stuff on TikTok or Instagram or Twitter, just something so people know what's up, where you are at, and so on and so forth. But it can't always work. It's very good to have, but it's better than nothing, is what I would say.
I'd say you're kind of walking on a tightrope if you don't have some of that stuff, because maybe something does happen to your PC and then what?
It's rough, especially if maybe you lose all the content that's on that computer as well.
God, yeah.
Any kind of
back up your stuff. Hey, everybody back up your shit right now. If you're watching right now and you're a VTuber, go back up your model. Go back up your shit right now. All your assets, everything. Please.
Back it up. Don't let yourself lose it. Believe me, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. Back it all up. Put it into a solid state drive or a USB something.
Especially if you made it yourself, back it up.
God, back it up. Seriously.
Oh, God.
Insert SpongeBob. Back it up.
So do you worry about like taking days off even, or like breaks because of...
Oh, 100%. Although I have to admit, making content as often as you can is definitely definitely, I would feel like, mostly a plus. I feel like even taking a single day off of not doing anything, either making content for future streams or just trying to relax for a day, can be very worrisome on stress in terms of what growth will happen in the next few days. I know you and I have in the past discussed about how we feel like, man, we really got to work, because if we take too long on a certain project and miss our deadline, that's it. The project's over. We might not be able to make anything out of it. That kind of goes along the lines with like certain trends, for instance, where if you do not hit a trend before it ends and then you try to do that trend, it's not even a trend at that point. It's over.
Like the introduction video thing. I think that's kind of past its mark at this point, but people are still putting some of them out.
Yeah, that's one thing I definitely am upset I missed, especially so because I definitely wanted to do that, but now it's come to the point where it's like it's nobody. I mean, people are still doing it, but the popularity of it has definitely ended, and
it's low. Somebody also mentioned burning out in terms of taking breaks and stuff like that. I have tried since the very start of content creation. I knew that there was this whole thing behind taking breaks kind of killing some momentum, and hiatuses killing momentum and stuff like that. I knew that was a thing going into it because I've watched content creators for so many years, for so long, right? So when I started doing VTubing stuff as more of like a full-time kind of thing, I do it all the time now. I force myself to take at least 1 day off a week, usually 2. Even if I have to get stuff done, I'm like, no, I have to take this day off because I can't just keep working endlessly. It's not gonna work. At some point, I'm gonna feel it, and I'm gonna burn out, and it's gonna ruin me. I know I've pushed you to try and do the same, take your breaks.
Yeah. But burnouts are definitely a big thing about it, because if you do work yourself too hard, because yes, a day off can screw you over, but at the same time, if you don't take a day off, you're going to hurt yourself, because putting so much stress on yourself, continuously working time and time again is going to it's going to hurt you. You're going to burn out. It's like we said, we could repeat this 100 times. It's always good to take a few days off from working and just relax a little bit as best you can. I know I'm not the best at doing that. I know I'm admittedly kind of, I'm being a bit of a hypocrite on that one, because I know you, like you just said, you've tried to push me to do it, because I have definitely burnt myself out in the past quite often because I worry a lot about numbers and all that. But burnout is definitely a big killer for a lot of people. And as we said a few times during this, a lot of people have even just quit because mentally and physically they cannot do content creation anymore because they are burning themselves out. And that's it. Like, because once that burnout hits, it can make or break someone.
Oh, God,
because it can make and break or someone's career, and they may quit because of it. And that's why, as a whole, a lot of us should be taking more breaks that we don't hurt ourselves. Maybe take even if it's not a full break, like don't work on anything, but I don't know, maybe watch another creator and see what they're doing. Doesn't have to be something super heavy and intensive. You could just be watching someone stream and getting ideas from them and maybe writing it down. That's not heavy intensive work. It's something
Take a
you can also
walk and
enjoy.
write down your thoughts, stuff like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. Something very minor. It doesn't have to be a full break to help some people if you're maybe a workaholic like I can be, but just something as minor as that could be just a good break where that's your entire day. Just relax, watch other creators, get ideas, go outside, do something, touch grass, the whole
Touch the
work.
grass. Touch the grass. Do it. It's good for you. Go outside. I never go outside. Don't look at me.
I was about to say, what's outside? I have had my blinds open.
What's
for so long.
outside? Look, the window's closed. We can't even see it. What's outside? I've never heard of that before. Taking breaks in general just seems like it can be such a drain or such a worry, and it's kind of sad. This is one of the only, I feel like, businesses in which taking a break like that is something that can kill you so bad. Like all of the social media stuff in general is the only industry that really does that. Because, I mean, you could take a day off work and it's fine. Other people will do it. It's okay. You're good.
Kind of have to. You have to take a day off from those jobs. Like, and it's not that big of a deal because a lot of us look at those days like, yeah, I got a day off. Woo! Awesome. I can relax.
Yeah.
But a day off in content creation
is
you don't feel the
horrifying.
Yeah, it's very scary.
Another thing, though, that can be a little bit stress-inducing in terms of content creation is originality and trying to come up with new ideas and stuff like that. I think a year ago, VTubers was still pretty fresh in people's heads. Like, the biggest boom was still coming up. There was a lot of optimism about quick growth and, like, big numbers for early people and stuff like that early on. And then now the numbers are kind of dwindling, the bubble's bursting, and I think a lot of the novelty is just kind of disappearing and going away. It's not that unique anymore, so you have to think of other ways to keep yourself original and, like, on the up and up and relevant, really. You have a unique case because you're a lamp. Do you think that's helped you? Being a lamp?
I would definitely say to an extent it has helped me because originality can definitely help you get started out. I mean, for God's sakes, going back to the one raid that I dread,
Iron Mouse!
Iron Mouse started looking at me because I was a lamp. That was something unique. And on the talk show she was on for the interview, the reason she even brought me up was because unique VTubers. And
it's a fucking lamp!
It's a fucking lamp!
Yeah.
A talking lamp!
He's a fucking lamp!
But yeah, originality definitely could be a big thing. Even to something as simple as your model. I feel like a lot of models are hitting this niche for a lot of people. I know I've seen a couple people talk about, for instance, there's a lot of just kind of boring, and I don't want to say boring because I feel really mean saying that, but a lot of people are so used to these usual super attractive models for both female and male, or masculine and feminine models. I feel like people like them, but there are also a lot of people who are noticing that's really all it is. I know you and I have talked about certain model types are very prominent in the community. For one in particular is definitely, and I feel bad saying this live, but we've said it before, is cat VTubers.
Girls.
Cat girls. There are
the cat girl uprising.
Many, yeah. There are. I think you and I have calculated. There's thousands.
There's so many cat girls.
Yeah, it's a lot of originality definitely comes to our models because it's also the fact that when people first come to your stream, they are going to see your model. That is the first thing they are going to look at. They are going to look at your model, and if it piques their interest, if it's something they see a lot of, maybe they'll like it because it hits their niche they like, or if it's something unique, like a lamp, they might be like, oh my goodness, that's so unique. I want to watch this person now. And that is what they will watch. So for models, bare minimum, I would definitely say originality can help.
Yeah.
But it also depends on what kind of content you're making. I feel like softer models, for instance, may do better for, say, like certain games that are softer. People might be looking at a model that's a little bit better. I would say, funnily enough, now that they've actually showed up, Captain Krabs. Captain Krabs is a very unique model, I would argue. And for him, at the very least, yep, it's a very cute model. It's a very crab model. It's definitely very unique. I would say that for someone who would look at that, someone who watches a lot of VTubers, they may be like, oh my god, that's not a humanoid looking model. It's a cute little crab and it moves so cute like people will watch that, and that will be something people will jump at really quickly. And it's all about branding, taking that brand that you have, which we can definitely talk about brands too as a whole.
Yeah.
It's taking that model, branding yourself and your content aligned with that model, and piquing the interest of a lot of people, which is where the uniqueness very much comes into play. You and I have in the past talked about, for uniqueness, people have started moving on to other forms of content. Like I think we discussed movies, for instance. Some people are doing
movie watching, like watch along sort of stuff, or talking about movies. There's music making streams. There's stuff like podcasts and talk shows. It's not for the views. It's not for the views. No, don't. Nope. Don't look at me. It's fine. It's not for the views.
Nope. Nope.
But Zerkak just mentioned it. Actually, there's something really interesting about VTubers, I think, in that with facecam streamers, people usually go in and they will first pay attention to the voice and the game or the gameplay. Whereas with VTubers, it feels like the first thing that people look at is the model and how they're using their expressions, if they're moving around a lot, if they look realistic, if they're unique, if they like the design, stuff like that. They put a lot of judgments into the visuals of what's going on with the kind of the person that they see on the screen instead of the game itself. More like people-oriented streams. Really cool.
Yes, and that's definitely, like I said, it's they look at the model. If it looks good, if the emotions are interesting, they will follow it, because that is what a lot of people really just like looking at, is the model.
Yeah.
I will just say this though, to pretense it, models don't have to look visually attractive. I have seen models that are literal MS Paint made models.
Let's talk about Project Ugly Bastard.
Yes, please.
I've actually worried about trying to break the mold a little bit before, which is kind of why I have things like, hold on, I'm gonna curse you all real quick. Things like this. My alpaca model. Ta-da!
How's that curse? Excuse me.
Listen, it's kind of cursed. Wait until I actually curse you. There's things like my alpaca model, which I made to try and be a little bit more unique, because I wouldn't have to worry about just being an anime girl. I could be, look, now I'm a cute little alpaca. Or otherwise, instead of doing that, I could be something like this. The Muppet Uprising.
Okay.
No, come back! Wait!
I'm out.
Don't leave me!
I'm done.
No!
I'm done. No,
alright, I'll change back. It's fine. I'll change back. I'm sorry.
That's too much for me. That's too much.
I didn't mean it.
I don't know if I can stand that.
I didn't mean it. Look, see, I'm coming back. I'm tiny right now, but...
Alright. I'm good. I don't know how I feel towards looking at that thing.
Man, but yeah, I made my alpaca model in the first place because I had been sitting there for a couple of months and I was like, man, I have an anime girl model, but everybody has an anime girl model. What if I had something that wasn't an anime girl model? So I made that for April Fools in 3 days.
In 3 days, that was, I'd dare say that was maybe a week you potentially burned yourself out a little bit doing that.
It was. No, I haven't said it before, right? A couple of people have like said, "Oh, I feel like I'm really burnt out now" and stuff like that. You could see people posting about it all the time on Twitter, which is actually a good part of the reason I wanted to do this talk show in the first place, because there's so many people who post things about, wow, I'm really burnt out, wow, all of this stuff is happening recently, wow, all my numbers aren't really going up, etc., etc. I wanted to talk to people about it, like actually have a discussion about all of it and see if we could come to some sort of, not really a conclusion, but just kind of like vent, I guess, a little bit, right? But I haven't said it before on Twitter like some people, but I have actually been burnt out a couple of times already. I actually have art block right now. I have a commission for a VTuber model. I'm gonna be making Ellie from Ellie and Booster's model. And I've had really bad art block recently. I've tried to draw up basic poses for it, and it feels like every time it just doesn't really work.
Yeah.
You gotta take your breaks, that's for sure.
Breaks are definitely a big thing. I believe one thing I can say a lot of people do, and you brought it and you kind of showed it off with the models, is one thing I feel like people get in a bad habit of, which yes, it can be good, is constantly rebranding, remaking their models, trying out new stuff, and that can be so taxing, either financially or if you're an artist like you are, like making so many different models for yourself and then rigging it and so forth. Because yes, trying out new things, trying out new models can definitely be a good way to do it. But if you burn yourself out doing all these different debuts, for instance, for new models, and then you see it doesn't work, that can set you back mentally so bad. I can say from personal experience, because I know someone who's rebranded, I think she's rebranded like 7 times now. And tried to start off with a new model, and she's an artist. She makes these models, makes them 3D. She has made like 6 to 7 models, rigged them, everything, and she has burnt herself out to Kingdom Come, where I feel like it's almost every other day she's probably thinking about quitting, but she still comes back.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine the amount of burnout she's felt. I don't want to call her out for that because I feel a little bad for it, but because I do appreciate her, and I do like her a lot, but.
Yeah, none of this is a call out, you know? This is all just like...
none of this is call out, but it's just one of those be wary and try to learn from others' mistakes kind of thing, or other stuff that people may have done that maybe you don't want to do it yourself, or not to focus on too much.
Since someone just mentioned it, if you aren't aware of what burnout is, it's basically just when you go so hard in content creation that it feels like you just kind of lose a lot of your motivation, a lot of your steam, and it feels like you've just spent all of your energy pretty much, and it feels like you get really depressed and sad, and it's just really taxing. It's like you push yourself so hard that you hit a breaking point, and then you're stuck, you get burnt out. Let me tell you guys, in terms of rebranding stuff, Prism might have freaking like saved me on that one, because literally the week before I was asked if I wanted to become a part of Prism, I was planning a new model and a new character and a redesign. And because I ended up joining Prism, I took all of it back. I was like, all right, well, I'm just gonna stick with Millie for the next like at least a year. I'm gonna go with it for a while. I'm gonna like try and make it work, and maybe if I just change some things up in my content, maybe if I change some outfits, some style, stuff like that, I'll feel better about everything and I won't have to worry about... At the time I was thinking that maybe I was too much of a child-friendly character, and I was getting too many kids watching me, like I was kid content. So I was trying to figure out if I could make myself look cooler and more adult and womanly and stuff like that, right? But yeah, now I'm trying to just stick with what I've got and trying to make it work, and making changes with the content that I have, like this whole talk show sort of thing, talking about stuff with talking about harder stuff, more adults conversations. But yeah, I might have gotten saved by Prism, but that one. Oh, hiyo. Yes, for anybody who has come in during the course of this, by the way, let me just give you a little idea of what we're doing here. This is Honesty Hour. It's a show about talking to small creators about hardships we might endure throughout our times on the internet. And right now we're talking about being more unique and trying to like figure out new content and stuff like that to work with to keep yourself relevant and try and keep your growth going, basically. Because it feels like in the VTuber bubble, man, things have burst.
Oh yeah, 100%. It started out as unique for a lot of for content creation as a whole, but yeah, pretty much everyone's doing it now. It's really coming to that. Even bigger folk are really starting to come in. And when the bigger folk come in, it comes not as unique for the smaller folk, and that can be very dangerous for those trying to start out thinking this is like the gold mine of sorts.
Yeah, well, that's how it ended up starting out, right? Like, people were looking at VTubing like the new big thing. Like, if you became a VTuber, you instantly got like 50,000 followers or stuff like that.
Yeah,
And that's what it felt like, especially when VShojo first came out and stuff like that. It felt like VShojo rocketed ahead of everybody because they made a group together full of VTubers, and VTubers were the new boom, and man, they went sky high.
Oh yeah, we took the minimum amount of people, and now it's like way past what I almost would say is the maximum amount of VTubers that are out there right now. It's insane how quickly the amount of VTubers in this community grew.
Yeah.
Nowadays, I feel like if, for instance, VShojo never existed, for instance, I feel like if VShojo hit right now, I don't think they would be nearly as big as they are now.
No. They wouldn't have gotten as big in the sphere, that's for sure. I feel like there's also this weird stigma in terms of VTubing now, where like if anybody big becomes a VTuber, it feels like there's all of these haters that show up just to be like, well, you're just becoming a VTuber because it's the new popular thing right now, and you're just trying to get clout and blah, 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 blah. Even if it's something that they've wanted to do for a while. And it usually is, because it takes a long time to make models. It takes a long time to design that stuff.
There are definitely some exceptions to that, because there definitely are some people who do VTubing for like 1 or 2 streams. I'm sure a few people know some people that come to mind for stuff like that, who just get like a toss away model or buy a model because they usually have the money for it, and then they do it for like a couple streams and then they give up. But then there are genuinely, like you said, a lot of content creators who are like, wow, I really like anime and Eastern designs. Like, I want to do animation like that. I want to be a working model, and I want to shift my content over to that kind of stuff. And yes, like I said, there's definitely people who do either or, but I feel like we shouldn't bash them for joining content creation, even at this point in the stage of the community as a whole.
Yeah. People are talking about peaks a little bit. I think that nothing has really peaked. I don't think that content creation can really peak. I mean, you can look at YouTube as a good example of that. YouTube has just gone higher and higher and higher and just kept climbing up and up. And new people become big all the time. I mean, Dream is a good example. Dream became huge in just like a year. He became like a multi-million-dollar enterprise basically on his own, just for making some Minecraft videos. So it's more of a matter of what kind of content people are doing and what kind of market they are reaching and how they're selling themselves and stuff like that. Yeah. Zergak had another another comment. Speaking of chat interaction, how do you two feel / deal with keeping audience retention / keeping your numbers stable instead of growing? Keeping audience retention. I think that chat interaction is one of the most important things for me in a stream. I think that talking to my chat and building a community with myself is just like really important. I wanted to make, when I started content creation, a community of people who were nice and friendly and that you could play games with, and you could ask for help if you needed it with like content creation stuff, which is why I kind of have all of my content creator channels on my Discord, and I usually try and answer as many questions as I can with people. I wanted to make a community that people could just like hang out in and build relationships and have good vibes and have somewhere that wasn't, you know, full of drama and sadness all the time. Yeah. So for me, chat interaction is one of my important things. It's one of the things that I want to do pretty much every stream. I want to talk to my chat constantly. And I don't know how that's going to work if I ever get bigger, but currently it's a lot easier for me to talk to people and like actually have conversations with people in the chat. I feel like overall though, chat interaction, it depends on the streamer. Some people aren't really looking to make that community. They're just looking to provide entertainment for people or provide an experience for people. If you're doing something like ASMR, for example, you probably don't really need the chat interaction as much. You probably would just want to keep doing like soft sounds and whispering and whatever you're doing.
I definitely would agree 100% on that. I really, really feel like interaction is best because it makes the audience feel very much involved with the stream on a much higher level than if you were just playing a game and then just saying "Hi, chat, what's up?" kind of thing every 5 minutes or so.
Yeah.
Because it feels like they're actually there. It feels like they're actually experiencing the content on a better level. And I definitely feel like it's much more enjoyable to talk to chat than just sitting there and just talking to yourself. I mean, yes, talking to yourself is a big thing, especially if you do single player content on like YouTube. But when it comes to live streaming, especially, talking to your chat is definitely really nice, and I definitely prefer it over not talking to them. Which I still feel like that in itself is a little too weird to me
Yeah.
to even remotely think about not talking
I
to
know.
chat.
Could you imagine starting up a live stream and then people try to talk to you and you're just like,
Yep, I'm like, I'm ignoring you. Waka.
just yeah, I think that one of the exceptions in chat interaction might be something like this, though. Like, I'm not going to read out every single message during something like
Yeah.
this, or even during a collab. I'm not even necessarily going to read every single thing that happens in chat because, you know, I'm having a conversation with someone else. I'm trying to talk to them and enjoy things with them too. So it's a little bit harder to balance in terms of that sort of stuff.
Like you said, for when you get bigger, when it does hopefully eventually happen, it becomes harder and harder to interact with chat, especially if chat becomes more frequent. Like if you have like 100+ people talking at the same time, it does become a little bit harder. But we are at that point where thankfully chat interaction becomes a lot easier, and it's something I personally enjoy. I like this level of interaction where I can read everything properly. I can see who's talking. I can interact with someone one-on-one for like a second or two. So like, hey, Mom Packer, how are you doing? Are you doing good? Blah, 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 kind of stuff. Oh, and like go to the next person, see their reactions to certain stuff, and so on and so forth. I really,
Yeah.
really like that.
Yeah. I think, and Mom Paka mentioned it, she's surprised how much we've been responding to the chat in this discussion. I think that I'm trying to pick and choose the things that I'm responding to a little bit so that we can, like, move the discussion along in different directions. But some questions are really relevant and provide a lot of extra stuff that I just hadn't had planned, you know? It's
Might
a
be a good
hard
idea to
question,
also.
especially for Millie, but do either of you feel as though numbers are fluctuating more wildly as people are reaching for content amidst a rather crazy world? Yes, they are. I think you're talking about mostly like the pandemic sort of stuff that's going on. I think that the pandemic pushed a lot of people both into content creation and also into consuming content. I think that it was one of the major reasons why VTubers had such an explosive growth in the first place, because people were staying home and they found this thing and they were like, wow, look at these happy-go-lucky anime girls that we can just watch, or anime girls or boys. There are like Hollow Stars too, but let's be honest, I watch all the girls. Yeah, I think that people saw these happier content creators who were just trying to like do cute, fun stuff, and they were like, hey, that's a nice escape. And it made VTubing a lot more popular, but it also made it a lot more popular for people who were at home and who were like, oh, I really want to do some of this because I'm not doing anything right now. I'm not doing anything. I'm chilling. I might as well become an anime.
I actually have a good example of how the world changes and that therefore the numbers and the people available fluctuate. I've actually discussed the anime industry, Eastern anime industry, and how often it changes and the popularity of certain anime with friends of mine in the past. So I would say in the past, people very much liked, say, shounen or action anime that focused on like war. Like looking back, a lot of popular anime like Code Geass and other stuff focused on war as a whole, and people were okay with that because people like their action and so forth. But it's come to a point where nowadays people don't like a lot of war. They like more comfy stuff because people are getting a little bit traumatized by all the threats of nuclear war, all the threats of COVID and other stuff. And people are just tired of all the dread that comes from that form of medium.
It's a crazy world.
It's a crazy world, and people don't want to watch mediums in anime that are literally all about war and stuff because they're like, because let's be real, when someone goes on a content creator's thing, when they go to watch an anime, a show, anything, they want to escape. They want to escape from what's going on in real life. And for a lot of us, that of watching a VTuber, a cute little alpaca girl or a lamp, that's their escape away from work or life as a whole. So when that medium talks too much to what is going on in the real world, they don't want to watch it. They don't want to see it. They may not like it. And like I said with my example, that's why a lot of anime you see nowadays are going to be more slice of life stuff, something that's a little more relaxing and calming for a lot of people.
Truth.
And that's why I feel like for us, and we mentioned ASMR earlier, that's why I feel like ASMR is doing really well, because people want to come home and just relax to some ASMR, something very relaxing in terms of content. And that's where the numbers are going to be. It entirely depends on what's going on in the real world and what people want to escape into.
Yeah, people just want to chill right now for the most part. Either they want to chill or they just want information about what's going on, at least.
Yeah, and Julia makes a good point. Isekai is definitely a big one too. Isekai's been popular.
Is so huge right now.
People want to get away from this world as far as possible.
Isekai, be out of here! Get me out of this joint, man! Somebody asked how we felt about retention on different platforms like YouTube, Twitch, and TikTok. I feel like that's more of a question for me, since you've still mostly been doing VTubing on Twitch, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I feel like, in terms of numbers on the different platforms, I feel like TikTok gets my most views and comments. But I mean, it's short videos, so usually it's only a couple of seconds that they're really there. On YouTube, there's not that many people. Like, most of the people that I would get during a live stream are going to be on Twitch. Most of my views on YouTube come after the VOD is already posted, because I'll usually have about 20, 30 people, depending on the day. Well, 10 to 30, depending on the day, depending on what I'm doing, who are watching me play something on YouTube. Versus on Twitch, when I will sometimes have up to 50, or even I had 200 at one point recently because I got a really good raid. And retention is usually pretty high on Twitch, but not on YouTube. On YouTube, people will pop in for a little bit and they will talk for a little bit and then they're gone. And I think that usually I'll get maybe around 15 to 20 minutes of watch time average on YouTube. I don't know if there's a way to check that. Is there a way to check retention stuff on Twitch too?
I think not on Twitch, I don't think. I could probably
it's
check.
Mostly
I don't
YouTube, because YouTube's made for video content. So
because YouTube will straight up tell you like, oh, this amount of people watch this amount of minutes in a video or videos you've had. I don't believe that Twitch does it in their analytics. They mostly talk about average viewers.
Average while live, yep. Yeah, I feel like, YouTube is made for people to come back and watch it later. So I'm not upset about that sort of thing usually, but in terms of people being there live, there's definitely a lot less people that are there live on YouTube versus on like Twitch. Or even on TikTok, I bet. I haven't done a TikTok live yet. I could. I don't know what that's like.
Oh god.
So I didn't want to end off on like the sad sort of numbers suck kind of note. So I wanted to talk a little bit about just like, what's your favorite part about doing this sort of stuff?
Definitely the interactions. I talked about why I wanted to be a VTuber in the first place, and it's still definitely my favorite part of it as a whole, is just seeing people's reactions to my content, whether it be something as small as a like, to someone saying ha 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 ha, that was funny, or even creating a community. Creating a community is such a nice thing. I mean, I always laugh or get angry at the jokes, or you made fun of me for this. I like that stuff.
I
like
love
that.
The emotions.
I like those reactions. I love all of the humor, everybody who responds to my content. It's so nice to create either a running joke or something in your community and in content. I see you over there. But it's that interaction the viewers see. I want to make memories for people. I want people to look back at my content and have fond memories. That is what I want. That is what I want, and that is what I enjoy the most in content creation. I like how people react to my content. I love that. I absolutely love that. And
I love Lamp.
Content creation. Thank you, Captain Crabs.
I love Lamp. What's your like main main dream? What do you want more than anything else with all of this then? Just making people happy? Just like...
Definitely making memories for a lot of folk, because like I said, growing up, and like you said earlier, and I'm sure a lot of us have, I want people to have something they can look up to like years from now, they can look back on and smile like with a clip or something. And I really want that as a goal. That's definitely my long-term goal. I want to be remembered. I want people to look back at my content and see that. That's definitely my biggest goal. I even put it on my Twitch profile. I'm here to make memories. I want to make memories with people. And I definitely think that's my biggest goal. In terms of short-term goals, obviously there's always getting bigger, there's bigger growth, becoming bigger in the community, maybe collabing and meeting up with other content creators that necessarily aren't VTubers, but just a couple different people I could think of off the top of my head. I would want to meet and work with, and overall just get bigger, make new content that I like, continue making the content I do, and just overall just numbers. Like we talked about, getting those numbers up is definitely always going to be a staple.
I think that's probably a goal of pretty much everybody who becomes a content creator. Everybody wants their numbers to go up. It's part of it. I think it's also just like you want whatever content you're making to reach more people, especially if you're trying to do it to make more people happy and stuff like that. You want it to reach more people and you want it to spread far and stuff like that. Yeah,
that goes without saying. No, it's what everyone wants, but definitely for me, those memories are a big thing. I don't want to forget any of this, and I want to look back, even myself, years later, and remember all these fond memories. Definitely.
I think this whole thing has been just a fantastic experience for everybody that's been involved. Everyone that I have seen talking about it, it always seems like nobody regrets it. Even if they don't end up doing it for that long, or they leave the community eventually, I don't think I've ever seen a person say, I regret all of this or anything like that.
Yeah. If I have, it's very rare. It's very rare. Everyone, even when people graduate from being a VTuber or content creation as a whole, they always seem to end it off with, I had fun memories here. I enjoyed the content. I'm sorry I can't make it anymore, but it seems to be, generally speaking, people enjoy the time they spent doing content.
Yeah. And I just want to have a little bit of an ending sort of takeaway from this. Just remember, guys, in terms of numbers, try not to compare yourself too much. Try not to think that your numbers are worse than other people's or anything like that. Try and look at it more constructively. If you are going to compare yourself to somebody else, then just try and like look at what they're doing differently from you. See if they might be posting in other places from you, if they're putting out different content from you, if you want to make that style of content or not. It all comes down to like sometimes luck, sometimes different effort, sometimes different styles of content that's just a little bit more popular than others. Try not to look at it as just, they're a bigger number than me. I'm sad. Always try and take something constructively out of it. And always take breaks. Do not just sit there and like work your butt off for 3 months straight with no breaks in there. Even if it feels like a hiatus is going to make it harder for you to come back, if you need it, take it. Because you, in the end, are the most important thing. You and your mental health and your body and everything about that, your relationships, are more important than your numbers. Even if you want them to go higher, it's a lot more important to care about yourself. Take care of yourself. Take care of yourself, like, God damn it.
Really got ended off on that.
Take care of yourself.
I don't want to hear it from you, Mrs. I keep you up till 6 to 7 a.m.
Okay, but I keep you up to 6 to 7 a.m. playing Genshin. That's different, all right?
That's different? Okay.
That's a break.
Yeah. Yes, that's a break, keeping me up super late.
That's a break. You play Genshin, you're happy. You're good. You're having a good time. Yeah, but just make sure you take breaks. Make sure you're not comparing yourself too much.
Focus on yourself, not others, or at least not others to the extent that would end up hurting you, because that is definitely a big thing, like you said. Try to focus on yourself entirely. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, and I don't think we actually said it yet, this isn't a race.
No, it's not a race. You're right. We didn't say that one yet.
I realized we didn't say it. It's not a race, everybody. It's not a marathon. If anything, it's a jog. It's a light jog.
It's
Stop
a
it, Graham.
walk.
It's not a marathon.
It's a leisurely stroll.
Yes. Some people want to make it a marathon, and that's for them. For you, pick your pace and work with it. It's not a race.
Well, is there anything else that you would like to say to people?
I feel like I've said what I've wanted to say. If you want to get into content creation, I feel like watching Millie's Honest Hour is definitely a good idea to get some ideas. She's a lovely alpaca girl who I am.
He's shielding me on my own show.
I'm very proud and happy to be her friend and a co-content creator with her. And thank you, Millie, for of course giving me the honor of being the first person on your show. I do appreciate that very much.
Of course. Well, I thought that we always talk about this stuff on our own anyways, and I talk about numbers and all of this stuff with a couple of people in private. I think that it's nice to sometimes put it out there and like have that conversation with other people involved, you know? It's nice to just talk for a while, just vent a little bit.
It's nice to have someone to fall back to talk about this kind of stuff, and you and I both have those kind of people, not just in each other, but others as well.
Yeah.
It's nice to talk about it privately with numbers, have a genuine, serious discussion about this. And I feel like for a lot of people, they may look to these episodes and these videos to potentially see those kind of talks for themselves to fall back on.
And if you would like to follow this cutie Lampert, I have some of his links set up right here. He's angry. Angry Wamp. If you would like to follow this adorable tsundere lamp boy, there is his Twitch and his Twitter. Okay, bye.
I'm not cute. Not.
Yeah, sure. Whatever you say, sweetie.
I hate it. Not cute. Fine, we'll get back. That will.
He's just shy. He's just shy.
I'll sit here, but I'm not gonna
He's
like
shy.
it.
Poor Wampy-kun.